identity. Are you ready for your first question?
Sure.
The Vice Chairperson external position is one of the newest positions on our executive board, with many of these different duties being taken from the old position of the Community Affairs Coordinator. How will you differentiate the duties of the Vice Chairperson external from that of our current Community Affairs Chair?
Thank you for the question. I think a way to differentiate the roles is similar to what a lot of the candidates for Community Affairs Chair said tonight, is that their goals are mainly to prioritize community service and finding a way to directly impact the San Diego community around us. And I think for the Vice Chairperson external's main thing would be to serve as representative within collegiate spaces to help us bridge those relationships, bridge those gaps, and establish like that networking. So then when we do need, for example, like a keynote speaker for HSC, we have those connections to reach out to people, or for the FCC, for example, just having those like relationships so that Samahan can branch out and like what I said in my speech, just have just a wider range for the scope of the community that we can build. That of course that we do have our space here like at Park Boulevard or like at the ENS field where we do like FG, but also in other spaces like at the PETA Center, things like that. Just helping our members branch out in a way that they may not have before.
Are you ready for your second question? The Vice Chairperson external is in charge of collaborating and communicating with all other FCC externals to plan the annual FCC Preview Night. This year, FCC Preview Night, barring any changes, will be held here at San Diego State. Seeing as the hosting school's external is the one spearheading the planning and execution of the event, how would you personally go about this process to ensure a smooth FCC Preview Night?
Thank you for the question. I think while both you and I have definitely have had the experience of working alongside like Thailand and USC, and seeing how like an event like that, when there isn't really precedent for it, especially of course we've held it like FCC before, but like, I have never spearheaded that, so we've seen how like the planning process from like the ground up can be, how difficult that can be, and obviously like none of us on board right now have seen that process, at least from our experience talking about it. But I think the main thing is just having that initiative early on and working out those big details as we can see like how difficult it can be to have such a large scale event like on your like home space, that making sure that you don't do any last minute, making sure that we have those meetings like early on in the semester, I mean not even this semester, like having once those external positions are finalized, like even in the summer, reaching out, making sure that we understand where each of our responsibilities lay and what I need from the other externals to make sure that everyone's responsibilities are laid forth. And then having those deadlines, those set deadlines, like what we did this year with the COCOs, having those phases, making sure that there are things that are done at certain moments, so that not everything's being done all at once and we're scrambling to find those things. Make sure like ES reservations are done on time. And I think that especially is important for like Montezuma Hall or whatever space that we're going to end up using. Make sure that can accommodate each of the COCOs, other schools, understanding that what they need from us on their performances, so that they don't have to adapt on the spot, and they can really showcase what they want for their performances. That they don't need to cut anything short from the creativity that they want to share with us.
You ready for your third question? Okay. One of the responsibilities of both the Vice Chairperson internal and external is to assume responsibility of any vacant executive board positions or fill in for executive board members on a temporary leave of absence. If one of your e-board members takes an extended leave, how would you go about dividing up the duties of that e-board member's position with the Vice Chairperson internal, and how would you prevent burnout if you were to take on these duties?
I think initially, obviously, like the general answer would be just like divide your own time, make sure that you understand your student first, things like that. But in terms of coordinating with the Vice Chairperson internal, it's understanding where you guys are at in the semester. So obviously, like you have your own schedules. We're not going to be doing the same thing at the same time. Understanding that, well, for example, at a certain time, I may be more busy than like she will be. At that time, she can support me, and then whenever she has taken on a role, has taken on other responsibilities, I can support her. And understanding that early, and establishing that early on in the semester, instead of having to figure it out like when it does happen. Like just relating to each other our schedules, making sure that we do have like a plan set early on. So then at specific times in the semester, we know who's more capable than one of us. And then in terms of being able to fill in the duties, I think an important thing for us at least is to be more present in the auxiliaries, such as going to ABLE, understanding what the political and the community do. Instead of, because obviously we can just read, we just say that leading ABLE is this and that, but it's not the same in practice. Like, we need to actually experience it firsthand to see what they do, to see the community that they build within their auxiliary, and see like the processes that they build within their committees. Because yeah, while we can just like say like they do this, they do that, we don't actually know the culture they built for themselves. We don't know how their communities work, what that thinks of the people that they're working around. I think it's important for us early on to be present in all the spaces and just to make sure that we're well versed in what they're doing like currently, not just what it says on paper.
All right, Daniel. Moving on to our audience questions. For your first audience question, not only does the Vice Chairperson External plan FCC Preview Night, they're also in charge of planning various Filipino collegiate collaborative events throughout the year. What kinds of events would you like to see that have not necessarily been done in the past?
Thank you, Elijah, for the question. For me, I think this past year, what I haven't seen are just like very casual events, just having events like UCSD or having like bonfires, things like that, where it's just like a casual setting where we can really just network and like collaborate with them. Because I feel like, yeah, while we have like social sports online spaces, we never really invite like other schools to come. I think it's just things as simple as that, and like allowing them to do that for us as well. Like except for my like my speech, like NSU had those basketball tournaments, like SDSU's like chapter held one for everyone to come, and then like some of the schools in LA held their own, well then like schools went up to them. Just having like those like simple events like that, where we can all collaborate in a space, just like chat, communicate, just like have a fun time. Kind of like the volleyball thing, like we can see like that's a little bit more large scale, where we can see like people just like socializing and like creating those connections. And I feel like we just need to have more of those just small events that like each school can hold at small times in the semester, just like to chat and just make those connections.
All right, thank you for answering that, Daniel. And your last audience question. The Vice Chairperson External is in charge of planning executive board retreats alongside the Vice Chairperson Internal and the Chairperson. With your knowledge of how this year in Samahan went, what kinds of workshops would you like to plan in order for our executive board members to be fully prepared to get through the entire year?
I think this year we spent a lot of focus on like the logistical things, like how to reach out to people at GPMs, and how to do like check requests for treasurer. But I think the main thing that we did deal with as an executive board this year is dealing with like internal affairs and having those like difficult conversations that I feel like we do preach like, we need to be friends first, like how those like comfortability where we just talk to each other. I feel like we didn't necessarily have that, and we were kind of scared to say things when things need to be said. Like yeah, we have like the plus and plus plus whatever, but like those are anonymous, and like you can like kind of hide behind your screen, kind of like you can say things after the fact, but then while we're actually doing it, then we're not gonna get it done. Like I would rather, like for FG, I saw like a comment saying that something about budgeting, and I feel like I would have loved to hear that at the time, and I would have never felt anything about it. Like if you really felt some type of way about the way I was handling it in an executive board like environment, in a professional environment, I would love to hear what you have to say so I can properly serve you guys. And I feel like as an executive board and at those retreats, especially at winter retreat, when we're reflecting on the past semester, we should have a workshop where each of us just like says something about how we can each improve, and like understand that it's a safe space, that we're saying these things not because we're trying to criticize each other or bring each other down, but because we want to see each other improve. And we want to see us like maximize our potential. Because at the end of the day, we're here all for the same reason. We're here to give back to a community that gave so much to us. And we can't get anything done if we're just like keeping things to ourselves or saying things like quietly to our friends. Like that's not how you work in a professional space. You need to be able to feel like you can just say what you need to say and feel like that feedback is not coming from a place of hate or coming from a place of like bringing you down. It's because you genuinely want to see each other succeed. Thank you.